another episode of the Smart Dumb Podcast. Smart Dumb Podcast, because I call it the Smart Dumb Podcast because you need to be the dumbest in the room in order to become the smartest in the rooms. And also, I believe this is a podcast where we decode both the genius and the madness and the occasional existential crisis that we PhDs go through. And today, I have someone with me who has navigated the world of academia, research, and industry, making his place as an AI scientist and now a product manager at HistoVis, where he is shaping the future of digital pathology. His work sits at the intersection of medical imaging, AI, and intelligent diagnostics, essentially, which means he is teaching machines how to do what a trained pathologist might take years to master. But the interesting part of his journey is that he started in electronics and communication engineer and then moved into computational biology and then into AI and digital pathology. So, in this episode, we are going to be unpacking his entire career transition journey and the reality of breaking into AI driven healthcare. In addition, also, if you are a PhD wanting to break into this space, then I believe here is where you're going to learn how to start from scratch, how to break into the AI healthcare. Okay. Apart from that, even if you're a PhD from any other domain, know that this is surely going to be an insightful episode where you're going to learn about career transition and, of course, much more than that. So, with that, Akash, I want to hear from you with the very first question, where you quickly take us through your journey. And if there's any one phrase that you go by or any one main meme that comes to your mind when it comes to your PhD journey or career transition journey, please feel free to share that. Akash.
Sure. Firstly, thank you, Rima, for having me on this podcast. And I think it's a great resource for current PhD students. I would have loved to come across something like this when I was doing my PhD, when there were like so many questions unanswered, so many like blanks within the sentences that, which took me a lot of time to figure out. So thank you so much for having me here. And I'm sure the audience will enjoy this conversation and hopefully find it useful. So, talking about my journey, as you rightly pointed out, I started with my bachelor's in electronics and communication, mostly specializing in signal processing back in Bangalore, and then moved to US to do my master's in information science, and which is where I was also doing a research assistantship in the com bio department. And this is where I was exposed to the biomedical data set. And I was mostly working on understanding protein fluctuations and building statistical models. And I think much of my training in signal processing back in bachelor's did help me to make a quick headway into the field of biology because it made me understand the analytical models from a technical standpoint. And the thing that was missing from my skill set was the core bio knowledge. And so I spent a lot of time to sort of understand that and could put my signal processing skills to build an analytical model. So then, after doing my master's, I transitioned to the PhD program in Joint Carnegie Mellon and University of Pittsburgh Medical School, specializing in developing explainable AI for breast cancer diagnosis. So even here, the role that I played was at the intersection of computer vision, AI, and medical image diagnosis. And again, I was like quite passionate and eager to understand the problem at its core, which is cancer diagnosis. And maybe in today's session we will go into much details, but at a very high level, I was motivated by the problem and tried to understand that from a pathologist perspective and also build a explainable AI model to assist the clinicians for diagnosis. And the word explainable is quite critical here, especially if you want to facilitate like clinical adoption, such as FDA approval or other regulatory approvals. Like the AI cannot be black box. So I was posed with a very interesting question, and throughout my research, I developed explainable AI model for breast cancer diagnosis. And post my PhD, I joined this fantastic company called as HistoVis, which is also in digital pathology. And the difference between my PhD work and HistoVis is that uh, during my PhD, I was mostly tasked to build AI models. But at Histoviz, we generate histology dataset, and we have a pathologist network who do the annotation. So I sit very close to a huge amount of data in the preclinical and clinical research space, which has been great for me to understand the data at its core. So even at Histoviz, I build and integrate AI in the field of digital pathology and to accelerate pathology research in both the preclinical and clinical space.
Okay.
So and yeah, and I think you asked about like one quote that describes my journey, and I would say like just do it, and that's my code. Uh, as in like you just have to like uh, doing something imperfect is better than pondering over it and doing nothing at all. And so it's even if you're writing a paper, it could be like a paragraph that you might have written,
Right.
or one figure, or one piece of code, and I stick to it. Like just do it, and that builds on, and within no time you feel that you have made a lot of progress.
Mhm, mhm. Yes, I believe in that. Just do it because that is so action oriented. And
Yeah.
things, the outcomes might not work in your favor, but the
Mhm.
process teaches you a lot when you are just doing it, right? And I guess
Exactly.
it's a process. You keep building
Yeah.
and gaining that knowledge that others might not have because you just chose to do it. So I really, really love that. Okay, Akash, on note, we heard from you the whole entire journey where it started from your bachelor's till where you are right now. But in the period between your finishing your PhD and then getting into the industry, what happened in that period for you? I'm asking because most PhDs feel lost after finishing their PhD and don't exactly know what are the opportunities out there for them apart from a postdoc opportunity, apart from being in the academic culture. What are other things that are available to them? So what was that phase for you, Akash, if you can break it down for us?
Sure. I think that's a great question. So I was very clear to get into an industry post my PhD, and again, that decision did not come overnight. I did give a lot of thought to it as to where I need to spend my time and energy and create an impact. And so, I took a lot of time, but my decision was to shift towards an industry. So postdoc wasn't an option for me. So with that clarity, I think. Maybe like 1 to 2 years even before my graduation, I try to look up like what companies are there within my domain. And also I did not want to switch my domain from digital pathology to anything else, because I have spent hours of my time in this field trying to understand the data, build AI, and hone my expertise in this domain. So I had like a fair clarity there as well. Okay, this is where I want to work in the field of digital pathology and industry. Now, given these two parameters, I try to look up like what are those companies out there who are doing like cutting edge work in this space in the US. And there were like few companies out there that matched sort of like my requirement, and I did like reach out to those companies over LinkedIn, over email, just doing like informational interviews, like just knowing what work they are doing, and nothing like job related, and just as in approach it in a very soft way as to understand the work that they're doing, uh, their AI tools that they are building, and things like that. So and again, I think so as I was approaching graduation, like this helped me to target those companies because it was a perfect fit for me. So I did not end up applying to hundreds of companies out there which did not belong to my domain. So for me it was a most of it was like targeted application of the job to these companies. So I think that did help out a lot. And yeah, so I did have a job even before graduating from my PhD at this company Histoviz. Again, after talking to so many companies, I felt Histoviz is the right fit for me, where I could actually create an impact in the field of digital pathology. And I think I have made the right choice for myself, and I've been working in this company for over 3 years now. But again, I think my 2 cents to that question is even much before your graduation, try to have this understanding as to what are the companies out there that is your, let's say, dream company. And maybe you can create categories within your dream company, like stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, where stage 1 is like the company that you want to work for. Stage 2 is you want to work, but it might be slightly difficult without references. Stage three is like it's reachable. You if you apply and clear the interviews, you can get it. So, and I think that's very important. And being early is the key here.
Yeah,
You cannot be late into this process, and which is where you might have to do a lot more compromises,
yeah.
like not working in your domain or working in some other domain which is not your true passion and things like that.
Right, right, right. I love a couple of pointers that you mentioned there that start early. And the
Yeah,
second thing is dividing it into stage one, stage two, stage three companies based on the difficulty of breaking in, right? It may
yeah,
be difficult for you to break in the early career, but it may be easier once you have an experience and then break in
true.
the company, right? So,
Yeah,
on that note, this part where I also encourage PhDs to start earlier, the last 1, 2 years of a PhD is very, very, very demanding in the sense
true.
is that's when you're winding up all your work and putting things together, everything is coming together, making sense, right? And that's actually also the stage when you should start looking into what are the opportunities out there for you. And many PhDs are reluctant to that, thinking that, oh my God, I've already so much on my plate. So, is there any tips or strategies that you want to share that would help them to manage their time better during that time so that they're also prepared for what they want to get into in the future?
Yeah. So I think, Rima, again, a good question, but I would like to take a step back and tell the viewers here that, uh, you need to have a sense of pride that you are doing PhD, wherein, you are sort of like hustling through, doing research, creating new technologies, like new experiments that's driving the innovation and making the world a better place. So I believe that first is having the self affirmation that you are doing something great which a bachelor's or a master's might not be doing,
Right.
with the depth and intensity. So I would say, like, go with confidence that okay, you are skilled. Even if you don't know few things, you are equipped with this attitude of making things work
Mhm.
and hustling through and learning those skills and making it work. And that is what I feel that PhD experience sets apart from other students out there. So given that, to answer your question, again, with the skill sets that you have, I would say, like, try to understand what is the market need for the domain that you want to get into. And this will help only if you start early. So I would again say, like, just know what are the skills that you are missing, what skills you already have, and try to be there early. And in the last 1 to 2 years of PhD, yes, it is taxing with publishing papers and writing dissertation and all of that. But I would say, like, start building like a community around you where such discussions are also happening.
Mhm.
Because it's not that, yes, you can do things yourself in front of a laptop and get this information, but be part of the community wherein it could be, say, listening to this podcast or being part of like meetups or virtual like network
Yeah.
that will sort of like start brewing things up.
Yeah.
Like, you're just trying to like warm things up, and once you have those conversations around you, you will be at least part of the game.
Yeah.
So this doesn't take away a lot of time, and don't think of it as a stressful experience. Think of it more like a relaxation. You're trying to, like, after your research work, you're just like, hooked up to listen to a podcast or being part of meetup, go out and network.
Mhm.
That is when you will realize two things. One is, what is it that you're missing in your skill set right now,
Mhm.
and second is, what is your true worth. And what I believe is many PhDs fail to understand, like, what is their true value in the market, which might be way higher than they anticipate. I think it's very important for them to do these two things, and this can happen only when you have a community around you, and like your channel, for example, is trying to establish that, and I know I'm completely in support of that.
Yeah. Okay. Just a follow-up question on the fact
Sure.
that try to understand what is the skill gap, right? When you're in the first and second year of, like, in the final years of your PhD, it's important to understand the skill gap. Now, one of the ways I make the PhDs do that is go through the job description and understand what are you lacking or what you are
Hmm.
already having, right? I believe that gives you a clear way of understanding that. So apart from that, is there any other way, or you think this is a good enough way to get started on where is the skill gap and how you can close that gap at the earliest?
Yeah. So I think to answer that, I like, coming back to the first question that you asked, and where my response was starting early is the key. So, and then you break down into multiple categories for your dream job and all that. So say you have done that.
Yeah.
Exactly. Stage one, stage two, stage three, and say you have done that part. And next, you look for job descriptions for each of these companies. And again, so stage three should be wherein, say 70 to 80% of the skills already match. So that's a good fit. For stage one, which is at the top, uh, I guess only 40 to 50% of the skills match, and the rest 50% do not match. So again, you have to be very smart enough to sort of break down these categories where you want to work. But once you do that, yes, job description is a good start to like see what skills they are missing. But I think coming back to the question, uh, it should be more about like finding those jobs where they actually believe that they have the skills. Like for
Yeah.
example, an AI researcher trying to apply for a web development role, right?
Mm. Yes.
So they might have done like AI analysis, data analysis throughout their career, and now they're looking to apply their skills to this web development role, or a product development where they have no experience. So it doesn't make sense to completely shift,
Yes.
which they might, if need be. But I don't think that's a good strategy. So what I believe is that, like, yes, look for job description, but not just that. Connect with people over LinkedIn, over email. Like, say you have a particular job in mind, go to the company's website, type that keyword, type the job name. You will know the people who have the same job title,
Right.
right?
Yes.
And you connect with them. Not all of them will be in the senior role. There might be people who will be at the entry level. So yeah, so connect with them, talk to them, and understand how much of a gap there is
Yeah.
between your profile and the candidate who's already working. And again, every person might not respond, but from my experience, I think if you are genuine, they do respond, because they have been in the same position. So I believe, like, just like 3 points for me is: one is be smart about choosing the different kind of jobs that you're looking for, different kind of companies that you're looking for. By different kind of jobs, I mean, say within the data analysis space, it could be data scientist, AI scientist, it could be a data analyst, or it could be a database analyst. Like, these are the different kind of jobs. And second thing is look for the job description and see how much skills match. And third thing, which is very critical, is reach out to those individual people and try to do an information interview with them.
Right. Thank you so much for adding to that job description and the other things that PhDs can go about and do. On that note, again, connected to this question only slightly, many times what happens is, say you got into computational biology, PhD, right? But then you didn't do your research earlier to understand where exactly computational biology fits in the industry space, right? So you might have been doing your research on something which is very theoretical. Okay. Now,
Mhm.
I am not a computational biologist. I am an engineering scientist where I worked on fatigue of metals and all of that. So it's material characterization part. Okay. Now, I'm coming to this question from the point is right now I'm working with an astrophysicist, say, okay. And astrophysics is so theoretical that there's no industry applications, right? So many times we get into PhD without this awareness that how this might help them to make the transition when they are doing their PhD, when they finish their PhD. So, is there any suggestions you would give to somebody that when you're starting on the program, do that research, how this particular domain or field of research is going to stay relevant 5 years down the line or not?
Yeah. So again, to answer
Also,
that, even yeah.
so to add to that, if there is anything when it comes to computational biology, if there's anything that's picking up like 5 years or 10 years down the line, this is the domain that one should get into. Please specify that as well. Of course, I know that it can keep changing with the pace at which AI is coming in. Many things can keep changing. But however, how does a trend look like and what exactly in computational biology is trending and what are the additional skills that one can pick up?
Right. So to answer your first question, as you're entering into PhD, right? Like, so you're entering into like a large ocean, which is unexplored, and you don't know the kind of research you will do, what it might lead to. So there are like so many open-ended questions, and I believe that it should be only motivated by the fact that you want to do something novel and interesting, which is by which you're motivated by, and not and don't get bogged down on where this field might be like 5 years down the line or 7 years down the line. So I think very early on in the research. So now, say you got into the PhD program, depending on your passion. I think for every PhD, it is very critical to tell a story, like convey your research to a non-technical person in a way that it is so simple. So which some of them might not be able to do. They get very technical and they won't be able to like tell a story to the outside world
Right.
or to their friends or family and all that. So they need to spend time in trying to tell a story of what research they are doing to a
Mhm.
non-technical person. And now, why I say this, there's a reason behind it. Now, this will help them to translate their skills and knowledge to other domains where the value is very high. Like, for example, if a person is doing, as you pointed out, like PhD in astrophysics, where it's all about like, the simulation data and crunching numbers and visualization and all that,
Yes.
say those skills are in high demand for like the fintech market
Right.
where they're trying to understand the stock market and the analysis and predictions and all that. So and again, you will be able to translate the knowledge only if in your mind you have a clear story to tell as to what research you are doing. So even during PhD, I think it's like it's very useful to do some research as to how can you translate this knowledge to something else where the demand is very high. And again, this is applicable if you are looking to get a job after PhD. Of course, if you want to do postdoc or become a faculty, I think my answer is very different. But if you're looking to get into the industry, now this is where you can look at.
Mhm.
And it could be anything. For example, like if there is any other domain, say my domain, which is computational biology. So where even though my domain was on biology dataset, but I got a very strong understanding of the computational framework, the statistical models, learning AI from a
Mhm.
statistical standpoint, and
Mhm.
not just like using Python packages and
Right.
getting the plots and all that. So actually building the framework from scratch. So that understanding, I can translate this knowledge to any medical imaging domain or any imaging domain. It need not be only cancer images, right? It could be anything.
Mhm.
So I think having that understanding is so important.
Mhm.
And to answer your second question, in comp bio, digital pathology is evolving. Actually, it's a very like it it became popular only like in pandemic, wherein the pathologists were not able to go to the hospitals because of the situation, and that's when digital pathology became quite a big hit. And it is a growing field, and it has a high potential of growth in the coming years. So that's one thing which the current researchers can explore.
Mhm.
The second would be the drug discovery side of things and how sort of AI is shaping up uh, protein synthesis or drug design, and how can you simulate like models using AI to do that. So that's the second field that's booming. And third thing is developing AI to understand the patient's response to immunotherapy. And this is where we talk about multiplex immunofluorescence images and trying to understand how the when a patient undergoes immunotherapy, how can AI sort of catch in early errors wherein a patient can be effective for a particular treatment or not.
Mhm.
And that's again a huge demand because I think that will save like billions of dollars for like clinical trials
Mhm.
very early on.
Mhm.
And I think biology with AI together is making like a big stride here. So these are some of the fields which there's a tremendous scope.
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Akash, for breaking it down, especially the three things that are in demand in computational biology. And because you spoke about drug discovery sort of things, I just wanted to add there, and you can further validate it. I've been working with a computational biologist as well from Sweden, and it so happened they didn't get into the computational part of the things. But then, when it comes to drug discovery, there are a lot of pharma companies and consultancies that need their expertise to do the business development part of things, right? So she has broken into a consultancy role, right? So adding to whatever you have been speaking all this while, that there are a lot of things that people can uncover from for themselves. And as we were charting out the course for her, that is when we realized that consultancy is also one thing that she can break into, right? So on the
Mhm.
drug discovery part, is there any consultancy company that you can think of that computational biologists who might be watching this podcast can go and look into, because many of the times people don't even know the names of the companies that they should look into, right? So
Yeah.
is there any companies that you would suggest in the consultancy or say in the AI healthcare sector?
So again, I don't have any company on top of my mind for the consultancy projects, but I'm sure, like, there are so many pharma and biotech companies out there who seek for consultants again, for these micro projects. Like, they have this problem at hand. They want like a computational framework to be built. They don't want to recruit a full time because it is just for this project, so they go for consultants. But I don't have any sort of like a consultancy company, again, because my domain is digital pathology, so all of my sort of network is there. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Okay. Thank you again for breaking that down for us. Now, moving back to another question, which is about the opportunities versus the location. Okay. So,
Mhm.
say if it's computational biology, I guess the healthcare sector overall is booming across the globe, right? However, when it comes to, say, you are right now sitting in a USA ecosystem versus PhDs who are pursuing their PhD at India, right?
Mhm.
How much is the ecosystem different at USA versus India and the opportunities? Because what I understand, correct me if I'm wrong, that the number of opportunities in the healthcare sector, especially for PhDs, is quite limited in India versus USA. So can you please enlighten me over there, Akash?
Sure. I agree to your point. The number of opportunities might be limited for PhDs in the Indian ecosystem. But again, you spoke about opportunities and location. So within US, and I think technology takes some time to catch on
Yeah.
as it gets established. For example, like the field of digital pathology, there are so many opportunities in US and Europe in this domain. India is also catching up. There are some fabulous companies in India who are doing cutting edge research in the field of digital pathology. But I think talking to them, I also realized that most of their customers who use their technology are not from India. They outsource their technology to countries outside India. So again, a question to ask there is, how much of an opportunity is there within the Indian ecosystem for such jobs? But if I talk about healthcare sector broadly, again, it depends. So if your goal is to penetrate into the industry, no matter if it matches with your PhD research or not, again, you have to be able to translate your skills to other domains where there is a lot of investment and a lot of demand,
Mhm.
because each country has its own sort of like, uh, I would say, like, demands that is higher than other countries. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
uh, sure, I think US has much more sort of investment into the R&D
Mhm.
for
Right.
biotech organizations and research and healthcare, and which is what sort of drives the opportunity
Right. Yes.
in the US. But I believe that again, uh, even if the opportunities are limited, if a location is not a constraint to you, you should look out to apply to these other countries. It could be Sweden, which does a lot of cutting edge research. It could be Europe. It could be Singapore, and you can get experience from outside and then see what best opportunities for you within the country. So, but again, the question about opportunity is so specific. Like, for example, if I did my PhD from Bangalore,
Yeah.
and my location is just Bangalore, right?
Yeah.
So it depends on so many factors as to what the opportunity is, what is the funding stage of those research organizations, and which is what drives your pay,
Mhm.
your benefits, and
Right.
all that. But if again you're flexible to get the best fit for you, I would say go all in and spread your wings and try to look for opportunities where which is a perfect fit for you. So
Okay, okay. Thank you. And I understand that this is a very layered question and there's no straightforward answer to this because there are so many parameters
yeah,
controlling it. But then, as you rightly said, that if you are flexible, then there are opportunities out there. It might take a little bit of time, but if you can keep
yeah,
that flexibility window broader, then things will open up. And on that note, on this computational part and the AI healthcare part, I wanted to ask,
yeah.
is there any myth that people are having about this particular sector? And is there something you wish you knew earlier about this sector? That so that the PhDs who are hearing this out are already aware of it.
Yeah. Surima, can you expand on your first question? I didn't get that.
Is
Like,
there any myth about computational biology and breaking into the AI healthcare sector that you might need this skills, you might need that skills? Like while you were going through your journey, what helped you, what didn't help you? Is there any myth that you
hmm.
oh, okay, this wasn't required at all?
Okay, so one myth that that runs around is AI will take your job in the future, especially for some of the jobs, like it could be simple data analysis of your medical data set and all that. So it's a myth in the sense that, to an extent, if it is just data analysis that you are doing, then it might or it will take your job. But then I would say, like, develop an expertise to interpret the data based on the lot of literature reviews that you do, and be an expert in that field, and that it will not be replaceable.
Mhm.
So again, be like the strongest player within your domain. So for me, for example, if it's digital pathology, I have to think beyond doing just data analysis, but trying to interpret this histopathology data, how the analysis is transcending to what research question I'm asking. So, and again, coming back to your second question, I feel that one thing that every PhD has to learn, and which also helped me in getting a good job, and is being able to tell the story, keeping things simple, and being able to know where to go in depth, and knowing your audience is the key.
Yes.
So if you're talking to like a non-health tech expert, or who is into, say, just sales and marketing, right? So how would you tell that story, to them in very simple words? So I would say, like take courses, like talk to people, get into, talk about your research to your family and friends, and they might not understand. So come back, like learn how to tell. Like it's only when you realize that something is missing, only then you will go back and learn, right? So it's okay if you're not able to like tell that story right away, but build on that skill, within a minute or two. How would you convey your research to somebody? And I think that will help immensely, not just to get a job, but even in the future,
Yes.
even for anything else that you do, like the work that you do, being able to convey that is so important.
So, a follow up question on the same thing, Akash. I believe this is a myth a lot of PhDs carry: your technical skills versus your soft skills. Now, when you're trying to break into the job market, initially, right? Of course, your technical skills matter, but how much of your soft skills matter? Can you just break that down? And also say, right now, if you are hiring someone, what is it that you would look into apart from the technical skills? Would you hire the person if the technical skills were like a 10 on 10, but the other part was missing? Can I
Yeah,
get that? Yeah, good.
sure. So I think, if I was hiring somebody, say an AI scientist, right?
Yes.
So for me, the technical skills would matter in the sense that, how much AI knowledge do they actually have? Not AI application, but developing AI, getting into the details. But say they all have all the technical skills, but still, I would look at the person's sort of attitude towards change, attitude towards adaptation,
Right.
adaptation
Mhm.
to the ecosystem, and what kind of a team player he or she is. And I think for me, that is critical. And again, being able to convey whatever work they would have done
Mhm.
is important, because that, like in the future, that will help me to sort of assign tasks. And when they have already done a product, they're able to convey that product to me, to others in the team who might not have a technical background, right?
Right.
So for me, that is important. And also, like being flexible enough, and trying to learn, and hustle through, and if that is there, then I'm sure that there will be a great hire. So
Right, right. Thank you for breaking that down again for us. And on that note, I'm just shifting gears a bit to the money question. Akash, somewhere in the beginning of the podcast, you addressed that we tend to undersell ourselves because we don't know our value, right? And that's where you said that be confident and all of that. So when it comes to negotiation or negotiating your salary, PhDs are really not aware how to do that. So, what has been your experience about this? Why PhDs shouldn't undersell themselves? What would be your couple of pointers there?
yeah, so I think, again, so know your worth. And I think, in your second question, we spoke about the job description and the job roles that you're looking for and all that. So there are websites out there, and I'm happy to share the website with you, and maybe you can put it in the comment section, or wherever it's applicable. So there are websites out there where you can get to know what is the salary range for a particular job, and spread across locations. And this might be in US, but there are websites out there for the Indian ecosystem as well. So it's a simple search that you can do. For example, if you within US, I'm looking for, say, a data analyst role, right? So you can put data analyst and then do a search across different like states. So you will get to know what is like the mean, median, low, high salary range, and depending on years of experience as well. So it breaks down that. So do this research. So at least here you will know, okay, which is what is the number that I have to start, and anything below that is like a it's a no from my side.
Right,
Only
right.
when you have like a ballpark non-negotiable number, only then you can negotiate on top of that. But also it depends on the financial environment during that period and the availability. It's again like a demand and supply
Yeah,
question, right? So if there are hardly any jobs available, but again, don't come to conclusion that there are no jobs available. I would say first do the information
search.
interviews, do some
Yes.
enough research, and then you can say, okay, this is the job landscape that I'm seeing, which is again, don't go by what your friends might tell, or you might have read in newspaper that job market is crashing and all that. I would say it's all just news. Do your own research. You're a PhD, right? You know how to do research. So do your own independent research and get those numbers in mind. And then again, you will know like what is your ballpark based on your skills, based on the role that you're looking for. And yeah, I think that will be helpful.
Yeah, and on that note, I just want to add, say, if you were a hirer today, Akash, people are also scared to negotiate, right? Because it's a hard conversation. But then that also shows your leadership skills. So, would you rescind the offer just because someone negotiated their salary with you? Because many a times people have that going on in their mind. Okay, what if the offer is rescinded? So, can you quickly let me know about that?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, my quick answer is no. I will not rescind the offer if like a potential employee sort of negotiates with the employer. And again, it's more about how do you position yourself, right? So it could be the previous offer that you might have received, and you could be honest, again, you can be honest about the research that you have done.
Yeah.
Uh, for example, if I am in that state, I can tell I have looked up at a data analyst role within the state of New York, and this is like the mean salary that a person receives. And I believe with my doctorate degree, I should be qualified for within that range. So be sort of like factual about negotiation, be honest and have a soft tone. And and that it's all about how do you position yourself to negotiate. But the offer will not be rescinded.
Rescinded.
And again,
Yes.
your skills will speak for yourself. And if it actually does, then it's not the right company for you.
Exactly. Exactly. Thank you so much for being so transparent over there that offers will not be rescinded. And I have two final questions for you on that note. First, when a PhD, say someone finished their PhD and trying to break into the industry, does building a portfolio help, wherein you can showcase your skills and how you have applied your skills to a particular project, which aligns with the job description? Does that help? What is your opinion over there, Akash?
100%, 100%. So I believe think beyond creating a perfect resume. You should have your personal website. And again, this I have learned through my experience, wherein say I'm a recruiter and I'm just traveling in a cab or something like that, right? And say you reach out to me on LinkedIn. I don't want to download the PDF and zoom in and all that, but I might just click on the website and look at the graphics and see what your experience is. And say I might reach out to you because I found your website very interesting and very relevant to the work that we do.
Right.
So I would say create your website portfolio,
Mhm.
and again, think of it like this: like how easily can you describe yourself or give that elevator pitch to a potential recruiter in multiple ways? If you are in front of that person, craft your speaking skills like in a minute or two. You need to be very powerful in conveying that. If it's not, resume is good, but having a website portfolio, having a strong LinkedIn presence, it's quite sort of in today's world, it's so important.
Yeah, it just adds to that first impression, and the recruiters and hiring managers feel like, oh my God, this candidate looks interesting. Let's see what he has or she has in store, right?
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
on that note, the final follow up question is through your entire journey and this entire podcast, thank you for sharing all that nuggets of information. But throughout this entire journey, what has been your one learning? And that is something that you want to pass on to the PhDs who are looking for industry jobs or, say, academic jobs. What has been your one prime learning that you want to carry with you for life from here?
So I think throughout my experience, my one learning is learn to have fun.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And that is like so sort of like underrated.
Mhm.
learn to have fun in the process. Like even while reaching out to recruiters, to companies over LinkedIn, I didn't have this agenda. Like okay, I reached out to like 10 people. They haven't responded to me. What to do? But I was just like reaching out to them, sending a message, trying to talk to people to actually know like what work they are doing within the company. And even if not today, maybe 5 years down the line, I might go back to that company as a potential partnership and all that. So and even like try to create like a fun atmosphere like around you.
Yeah,
And that is like my that has stuck with me like even now. If you don't do that, then somewhere you will get like worn out, and you won't be able to show that passion in your
yeah,
work.
yeah.
uh, if in the talk that you might have with some person. So I would say like find ways to do that.
Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah. I love that. I loved two things about you. First, when you said just do it, and then this beautifully complements it, learn to have fun. Okay.
yeah,
So when it comes to speaking with you, I'm going away with these two personal learnings from you, apart from many other nuggets of information that you shared. And of course, Akash, I don't think this is the first time we are meeting for. There has to be another podcast that we need to shoot with you so that we can get into some more questions that I might have missed
sure.
on asking for today. But thank you so much for breaking it down for computational biologists and, of course, other PhDs who are looking to break into the industry space post their PhD. And I look forward to having you once more on this podcast because there were so many more questions I couldn't ask because of the lack of time. But
Yeah.
thank you once again, Akash.
Thank you so much, Rima. It was a pleasure talking to you today, and hopefully, like the audience will find it useful. And yeah, I'll be happy to hop on another podcast and discuss more interesting questions.